No matter what, people will commit to misunderstanding you. What's most important is your commitment to understanding yourself. Hello, you guys. My name is Nkirka Madani, known as NK, and welcome back to Misunderstood. Today, we are talking about taking a chance on yourself. I'm a firm believer that you should bet on yourself every single time because you and only you know your full potential. This episode is going to get into my origin story for how I got to exactly where I am. And by sharing this, I want everybody who is feeling scared to take a risk in their lives to hopefully get some inspiration and motivation on putting forth the effort to making your dreams a reality. In another episode, I talked about my corporate job. Was in corporate accounting for 3.5 years, and I really didn't like it. I simply did it to appease my parents. I was good at it, but at what cost? The cost was my mental health because I really didn't like it. I remember coming home after all of my work days feeling so depressed and so sad. And I understand sometimes with a grueling job, that takes a lot out of you, but this felt like something different in a worse way. I felt like my soul was actually dying. Every day I kept on doing something that wasn't aligned with my purpose and who I was supposed to be. Fast forward to the pandemic. Mind you, I was in therapy at the time because of the job and how shitty it was. A lot of factors were at play, but the year is 2020. I remember telling my therapist, she was the first person who I told, that I wanted to quit my job. This was in January 2020. She was my biggest advocate. She was my cheerleader. Shout out to her. So we started to formulate a plan on how I'm going to leave, etc., etc. A short 2.5 months later, the pandemic happened in March 2020. And obviously the world wasn't ready for what was about to happen. No one knew what was going to happen, how long anything was going to happen. It was a very uncertain time. And within that uncertainty, I felt myself getting really scared. I had only worked in corporate accounting. I didn't know anything other than that. But what I did know is that my heart came alive when I did anything creative, specifically photography, videography, PR, marketing. Those really excited me. Those lit me up naturally. I didn't have to force it. When something just feels right, you know it in your heart. I also loved writing. I would share this with my therapist. Mind you, I was in therapy since 2019. My therapist knew a lot about me, heard all about my journals where I would write a journal entry every week for years growing up, and I still have all of them to this day. So when it came time to think about my next steps while we were at the beginning of the pandemic, she was the one who encouraged me to think about something with writing because I had read her some of my journal entries. And that is when I told her I had always wanted to start a blog. I learned about blogging a while back through Pinterest because I myself would go on Pinterest and not only pin photos and videos to different boards, I loved reading people's blogs. I thought I could do this because I genuinely love doing this. I genuinely love expressing myself through word. I've always said I think that is one of my biggest strengths is how I communicate through written word. So I told her this and she was super excited for me and she encouraged me to take some time and start the blog. I was really nervous because I have only been an accountant in my adult life and I didn't know anything outside of that. I didn't know I could do anything else. I didn't know I was allowed to do anything else. Thinking back, I'm really happy that she was someone in my life who encouraged me to follow my spirit and follow my happiness rather than do something that was traditional or routine. She knew how unhappy I was, so it was really amazing to have that support from her. So then for the next month, I went in. I learned how to code. I learned web design. I built a blog from scratch in a month. I had stockpiled some journal entries, typed them up. They became blog articles, and I launched April 20th, 2020. My blog was live. It was really scary, but also equally so exciting to be doing something that I loved, and I was ready to show it to the world. I showed my parents, I showed my friends at the time, I showed my coworkers, I posted it on Facebook. I was getting a lot of really good feedback from a lot of people. Yes, there were some haters, but we are going to focus on the good. A few months went by, was getting really comfortable with posting on my blog once a week, getting some steady viewership. And it wasn't even about viewership. It was just about doing something that I truly loved and putting it out into the world. That was my only concern, because I didn't even understand how the SEO of blogs worked back in 2020. This was 5 years ago, but I was doing something I loved, and that's all that mattered. A few months went by and I wrote a really personal piece, and the piece is titled "My Account of Being a Black Woman in America." This was in line with the racial uprising at the time of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. It was a very unsettling time in America and all around the world in June of 2020, and I took it upon myself to continue to pour into my gut and my intuition and my creative spirit to write and display something that mattered a lot to me. I posted it, and within a month of it going live, it got over 1 million hits, over 1 million clicks on that blog post. Wild. So wild. And how I knew that is because I can see the back end on my domain and the server. And I was shocked, but also excited. I said, wow, people are tuning in. And I didn't realize that was possible. I didn't realize that I could do this, that it was allowed, that it was welcome. And yes, there are some people who are not going to like what you do, but there are also equally going to be so many people who are really proud of you, even if they don't tell you, and who are rooting for you, even if you don't even know them. So I kept on going. I posted that, and with the surprising success of it, I was getting messages from a lot of different brands. I was getting emails from a lot of different media agencies asking me to do a guest post on their website, wanting to pay me to write on my website. I was getting brands asking me about doing collaborations, which I didn't even know what that was at the time. I was effectively in a whole new world that I didn't even know existed, all because I tried. I tried to do something that was different, and all of that came to be. Later that year, I got laid off from my corporate job. I took that as a sign to spread my wings and search for more in my life. I knew that if I needed to, I could easily go and get another accounting job. Accounting is very high in demand, and I had all the credentials and all the experience and all the education to back that up and to get another job easily. But I was at a crossroads in October of 2020. I was at a crossroads, and I had to decide what I wanted in my life. I had to choose my heart, choose staying the same, or choose to do something different. Not knowing what that path is going to entail, not knowing how the heck I'm going to do it, I had to choose. And I remember that day so vividly. The day I got laid off, I was really upset and sad. It actually happened 2 days before my 26th birthday. Great timing. But I took that upon myself to feel my feelings. I cried a lot because I was scared. I was so scared. I had never not had a job since I was 16. Also, my very first job, I was a lifeguard at an amusement park in my hometown. But I had never not had a job since I was 16. So being 26 and getting laid off and not knowing what my next steps were was insanely terrifying. And within all the emotions I was feeling, I still chose myself. I still chose my dreams that I didn't really know what they were specifically, but I knew that I wanted more in my life. So I wasn't going to settle in that moment. Because as I said, I could have easily went back to another accounting job, but I chose the road less traveled, the riskier road, which was to do freelance and to try to work for myself. I've always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I think I get that from my dad. He's retired now, but he owned his own practice. But I felt it in my gut. I had the strongest intuition of, I need to do this. If I don't do it now, I will never do it. And it will probably be one of my biggest regrets in life. So I did it. I did not look for jobs after that. bet on myself. I took those last 3 months of the year from October 2020 to the end of 2020 to lock in on myself. I shut out the world to truly regain my sense of self, as well as plan my next steps and what I was going to do. I took to YouTube and I took to the internet and I learned everything I could about freelancing, about marketing, about web design. I learned about photography, videography, because these were the things that really lit me up. I continued my blog. In January of 2021. I got my very first freelance gig. I was so proud of it. The gig was a 6-month contract to be a guest writer for a publication. I was just excited that I was getting paid to do something other than accounting. This felt like free money because I didn't know that I could get paid for anything else other than a traditional job. 2020 and 2021 were just such a different time of life, but it opened myself up to this endless world of possibilities. So there I was trucking along, doing the freelance job, as well as trying to make money. This was the first time in my adult life that I was not getting a paycheck, that I did not have the security of a corporate job. And that was extremely scary. I had to make money some way. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and San Francisco is not a cheap place. I needed to make money. I was on unemployment for a little bit. I still had to make money somehow. I started my very first business, which was a clothing brand. It was called Spirit Queen. It was not a success, but that's okay because it taught me a lot about business acumen. It taught me how to market myself. I learned so much in 2021 about marketing myself, about delivering a good product. I also started another business called NK's Lashes. So I sold eyelashes, fake eyelashes. So those were my two businesses in 2021, alongside doing my freelance gig. I wasn't making that much money, but I was scraping by, quite literally scraping by. That taught me a lot about myself, and that gave me grit. I was fighting for my life, fighting to stay in San Francisco. I was paycheck to paycheck, and I was making it work. I was paycheck to paycheck that entire year of 2021. All the while in 2021 of doing these jobs, I also started learning technical photography. I started learning truly how people take photos well, how people shoot video well. I poured into really learning how to do it. I also bought my first tripod in 2021. I went out and took my own photos, and it felt cringy at the time, especially being in an environment like San Francisco where literally no one does that. So I was really the odd one out, but that also taught me about not giving a shit about what anyone thought of you. Doing something and knowing that I can do it on my own taught me so much about myself, and it gave me so much confidence because by the end of 2021, I was able to go out and shoot no problem, all on my own, and I just blocked out anyone who made me feel weird or uncomfortable. Middle of 2021, I got my first brand partnership. It was unpaid, but I didn't care because I got to work with the Lulus. I had heard of Lulus for years and years, and it is such a global brand. And the fact that they reached out to me, when I got that email, I literally cried. Shout out to Julia, one of my best friends. We were living together at the time, and she was the first person who I told. And that was just such an exciting day. I realized that me putting one foot in front of the other, working on my craft and working on something that I really loved and cherished and was excited about is actually paying off. And there were actual milestones that I could look at and say, wow, this is really paying off. That partnership I took so seriously. That was what really kickstarted my brand partnerships on Instagram. I put so much effort into it. I made it perfect. And the brand reposted me on the Lulu's page, which has over 3 million followers. And with that kind of exposure, you start getting seen. The fact that they posted me on their page is a big deal. They don't post everyone on their page, but they posted me. And that, again, was further confirmation of I'm doing something right. People like what I'm doing. But the most important thing is that I like what I'm doing and I'm proud of it. So I'm going to keep on going. But it was great to have that affirmation from these brands and these people. I kept on going in 2021. Mind you, I'm still paycheck to paycheck, scraping by. But I realized that 2021 was my loading year. I've been saying this for years now. 2021 was my loading year. It was a hard year. I felt like giving up. I was really close to giving up. Really, really close. I had also broken up with my long-term boyfriend in 2021. Towards the end of 2021, I started seeing another guy. Even though it didn't work out, he was someone who was in my corner at the time. He was someone who really motivated me to keep on going because he saw all the work that I was doing. He would see everything that I was putting into making something for myself. The end of 2021 was really scary. I was actually broke. The first time in my life, I was truly broke. So scared. I thought I wasn't going to make rent for next month. I really was scraping by. Barely had enough money. Thinking back, that almost makes me want to cry. It was really, really tough and really scary. But what I learned about myself in that moment of my life was when I'm backed into a corner, that's when I start to shine. That's when I realize that I'm not going to let my circumstances define me. I will find a way. And I did. You bet your ass I did. I found a way to make ends meet. I found a way to make enough money to pay my rent. It was a few days late, but I paid my rent. I knew that there was better ahead. I just had to keep ongoing. So the last 3 months of 2021, I started my third business, my online business, which is social media management and consulting. This was birthed from TikTok. I started TikTok May of 2021. This was right after I got out of a long relationship. And I needed to take back my power. 2021 was taking back my goddamn power, to remembering who I am outside of other people and to lock in on who I want to be. 2021 was the loading year I needed to become who I am today. I started posting on TikTok May of 2021, and I learned so much about social media and marketing and taking photos that I started posting about that on TikTok. That's where I started. By the end of the year, I went viral. I didn't know what to do with that virality, but what I knew is that I had to stay focused. And through that virality, people were asking for my services. People wanted me to make something to help them and guide them with social media because it was still something so confusing. And it still is sometimes, but back then it was something that so many people needed to hear at the time. So this goes back to the end of 2021 when I was extremely scared of my next steps and being broke. And I locked in. I locked in on myself and I locked out everyone else and everything else. Spent 3 weeks. I deleted social media, low-key ghosted some of my friends. I locked in on myself because I knew in my heart that 2022 was going to be a very different year than 2021. I believed in myself so much. I crafted an online business, social media management, consulting, as well as social media courses to learn how to grow on social media, to learn how to make money on social media. And I launched it. And to my surprise, I did so amazing that first year of 2022. People wanted to hear from me. People sought me out. There are so many people who do this exact same thing, but people wanted me because of my spirit, because of my story. I was special, so I needed to keep on going. I kept on posting about it. I kept on getting customers, and I was meeting so many people as well. It turned into something that was extremely rewarding, that I could do something and have an impact on other people. It became bigger than me. 2022, I also learned how to monetize on my other socials, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram. That's where everything really started to materialize, because in 2022, I ended the year with the most zeros in my bank account that I've ever seen in my life. And you know what's funny? I started the year broke. So that just goes to show you, if you put your mind to something, you can and will achieve it. If you really want it, you will get it. And the success of my 2022 allowed me and afforded me the life I live now, the opportunity to move to New York City by myself, to live by myself in Manhattan. I did that. I get chills still saying this, and I've lived here for 2 years now, but my story makes me so incredibly proud. I took a really shitty situation and made it positive because I remembered who I was. I remembered my strengths, and I remembered what makes me happy at the end of the day. I literally wake up every day so grateful to work for myself, and I wake up every day so incredibly happy that I'm doing something I love, and a lot of people can't say that. So I know that is such a blessing. Back to the story. 2023, I moved here to New York, scared, but knew that this was just the beginning. 2023 was the most magical year of my life. The most magical year of my life, where I traveled to so many places. I started my marketing agency, and the checks kept on getting bigger, and the notoriety kept on getting bigger, and people know who I am. And although I am considered a small creator to some people, there are other people who literally tell me I am their favorite creator. I am their comfort creator. I am their safe space. They began living their dreams because of me. I have been told this to my face, or in a DM, or in a text message. And literally that just makes me want to cry with happiness, because if I can have an impact on somebody that's substantial, you can too. You can change someone's life. You can make an impact if you just believe in yourself and realize that you need to take a chance on yourself to get to the next step, next stage in your life. You're going to be the next big thing if you want to be. You're going to inspire others to live out loud, live unapologetically, if you just believe in yourself. And yes, right now in 2025, I want so much for myself. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of the last 5 years of my life. Gosh, I don't want to cry, but I'm really proud. I'm proud of the risks I've taken. I'm proud of the steps forward I've made. And I will also want to be clear. There were steps forward, but there were also many steps back in these 5 years. The path was not clear a lot of the time, but I still chose myself. I still chose to move forward. And that's the point. If not you, then who? You have to be your biggest advocate. That's how this works. And now I'm sitting here in my New York City apartment that I pay for on my own, talking in a mic, having this podcast that I hope resonates with people, and I hope people come for comfort and inspiration. It's really important to me that I continue to leave a positive impact in this space that I've garnered so much safety and so much love from. I want to give that back, and that is why this podcast exists now. I want people to know that this is a space where you can feel everything you want to feel, and this is a space where you can dream so big. Your dreams are not crazy. Your dreams are attainable. If you take anything from this episode, just please take a chance on yourself. Please know that you are worthy of the spotlight. You are worthy of being seen, and you are worthy of being heard, and you are worthy of whatever you want in this life. Because remember, we only have one. And why are you sitting on the sidelines when there's a whole life to live? Please go live it. Please take a chance on yourself. Please live freely and unapologetically. You deserve that, and you owe it to yourself to put forth that effort. I want to leave you with some steps to actually making those strides in your life. So when I say take a chance on yourself, that can obviously mean anything you want. If you want to start baking, if you want to start a video production company, if you want to go backpacking around Asia for the next year, insert anything here. If you want to do anything, and if you want to start living for yourself, I just truly recommend you sit down and write it down first. And yes, I've said write it down in many podcast episodes so far, because that is my favorite way of materializing what I want. When I write it down, it will come true because I have it in my frontal view. A lot of people worry about the money aspect of taking a chance on yourself. You would think in some ways taking a chance on yourself does involve money. My whole story would have been a little easier if I maybe had a little more money at the start of it all. And I'm also not saying quit your job and do things reckless. There was a little bit of recklessness in my story because I did choose to not go back into corporate when I could have potentially gone into corporate again and worked through my dreams while in corporate. That is a very great option. A lot of people do that. So if you're really risk averse, I would recommend just making that transition as safe as possible for you. I also think that you really need to pour into the things that you love. A lot of people don't pour into the things that they love, and because of that, you're not really living your truth. I really hope that what you're getting from this is taking into account what you love and taking into account the things that matter to you, and make sure you're putting time and effort into said things. And last but not least, it is important to say this. Along your journey of taking a chance on yourself, there will be external factors, and half of those external factors are usually other people dissuading you and making you feel like you're not allowed to dream big and you're not allowed to think differently and you're not allowed to go off and do whatever you want. There will be people who do that. And actually, maybe if you're lucky, you won't have that. I unfortunately was not lucky, and a lot of people were very pessimistic about my journey, but that's okay because like I said, here I am now in my own New York City apartment that I live by myself and I pay for on my own. So did it really matter what they think? Well, it doesn't matter now. So if you are ever in a situation where you do get very bothered by the outside voices and other people inserting their opinion that is very much unsolicited, just remember, who is this for at the end of the day? Are they the ones paying your bills? Are they the ones doing anything towards your goal? No, it is just their word. And you can get over that. It is just their word. It doesn't matter at the end of the day because they aren't going to be there when you are super successful and you're living your happy life and you're traveling and doing everything that you want in life. They're not even going to be there. So it doesn't matter. Just ignore them, block them out. If you need to mute people, mute them. If you need to unfollow people, unfollow them. If you need to block people, block them. Absolutely do everything that you need to make sure that your space, your mental space, your digital space, your in real life space is clear and ready to receive everything that you need for your next steps in life, ready to put forth the energy to making sure that you have all that you need to take the chance on yourself, because you, my friend, are the next big thing. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Misunderstood. I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode, so feel free to let me know below. Also remember to follow and rate the podcast. Hang out with me on my other socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest at NK Madani, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.